Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've just watched the first race at Aintree, the Manifesto, and great to see Imperi Pass win, and nap of the day as well, which was excellent. I thought he travelled well, he jumped well. I thought he was just he was the proper Grade 1 horse in the race, wasn't he? Django Bay and Gidley Park are both very smart animals. They're both going to be winning races. Gidley Park, especially in the UK, because I've got a feeling that Harry Fry might keep him away from some of the big names next season. Keep running in the likes of the Grade 2 sort of thing, rather than aiming at the Grade 1s. But yeah, an excellent result to start the day. Let's hope we can do the same tomorrow. Starting off in the 3 mile novice chase, which is the Mildmay Novice Chase. And the horse I like here is Handstands. I really rate this horse. I think he's a very, very smart horse. I think he's going to be I feel he's better than Django Bay, for example. So Django Bay's just been beaten today over 2.5. Last season, they actually took each other on at Huntingdon, and Handstands beat Django Bay, and I thought he beat him relatively comfortably. I know he only beat him by a length and a half, and he was getting £5. I had when I watched that race, I put Handstands down as being the horse to take from that race over Django Bay. And now, obviously, Django Bay's since won an Arkle, now finished third. It might have been second. It was close on the line in the Manifesto. I've just got Handstands being better than that, and in this grade and in this company, I feel that he's the one to beat. Caldwell Potter was a good handicap winner, but it was all about him being in a handicap. He was so well handicapped and was given an easy lead, and everything went nicely for him out the front. And was the form that strong anyway? Who was second was 125-1, and O'More Park, who was third, was 66-1. Maybe the race kind of fell apart as well. Nothing picked up from behind, and he just got an easy lead, and things went nicely. Now he's going up to 3 mile. Does he want 3 mile? That would be a real test for him. Going up in trip, potentially having to go forward as well. Yeah, I feel that Handstands will demonstrate that he's rightly a Grade 1 horse and won't ever end up in those handicaps, whereas Caldwell Potter's coming from the handicaps. Dancing City I don't quite feel is good enough. Yes, he's got plenty of potential. I think he should have run better in the Brown Advisory if he would be winning this. And the others I just don't have them as good. So I'm really keen on Handstands, to be fair. In the first race tomorrow, you can currently get 2s. I think that's a fair price about him. And he will be my selection in the first race at Aintree tomorrow. Moving on to the 220 now, a little bit frustrating. I don't know what they're doing with him. When is Navajo Indy going to run? Actually, we do know when Navajo Indy is going to run. He's going to run on Friday. No, he's not. He's going to run on Saturday over 3 mile. Real strange one, that. I don't feel he needed that 3 mile trip just yet. Yeah, real step up in trip. I'll have to have a look at that race, the one that he is taking his chance in again. Do I have something for this race, the 220? I do, but I've got 2 that I'm interested in, and it just worries me because I don't really want to have 2 more and that non-runner, 2 and a non-runner in this race. It's whether I can decide between the 2. The 2 that have caught my eye: Be Aware, obvious one, and Reckless Eric. Now, Reckless Eric finished second in the Imperial Cup recently. He also finished 6th in the Sovereign Handicap Hurdle at Windsor. Both times really eye-catching, both times looking like he needs a step up in trip. And he's getting that step up in trip. The only thing I worry about those races, are they slightly lesser quality than the races that Be Aware has been running in? I'm talking myself into one horse here, and that's Be Aware. Be Aware, I feel, has been running in the right races in terms of the Greatwood Hurdle. Then he went for the Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle at Ascot. before ending up in the Coral Cup, where he ran well. He went off the 3-1 favourite off this mark of 137. So, although we believed that he was going to appreciate the step up in trip, he still got very, very well supported. He still went off 3-1. He didn't, sometimes you find horses that look like they need a step up in trip. They end up at the Cheltenham Festival and they end up going off 5-1, 6-1 sort of thing. It didn't quite work, but I definitely want to give him another chance. They were talking about, okay, we're going to go chasing next year, so we'll run him in the Grade 1 first. They've not. They've come here probably and hopefully on the basis that we might as well try and win that handicap, because we've got a horse that can win a handicap. And yeah, I'm going to have another go on Be Aware. Next season, he'll be over fences. They'll probably drop him back in trip initially to 2 mile and see how he gets on, and then step him back up to 2.5. But the fact that he went off such a short price in that Coral Cup, the very competitive Coral Cup, I think just demonstrates that he is ahead of his mark. It just didn't quite work at Cheltenham. Maybe it will at Aintree. So Be Aware is going to be my only selection in this. Obviously, we've got a loss, unfortunately, with Navajo Indy as well. Moving on to the 255. We've already got a selection in this, and that is Romeo Coolio, who I said if he was running here and not that race over 2.5, then I would be very keen on him. He is running here. I think he takes all of the beating. That third placed effort in at Cheltenham in the Supreme Novice was a very good effort. A reproduction of that, and I think he wins. I also feel he was ridden to try and win the race, whereas William Money, for example, was ridden to see what they could do. Here, they haven't got that copectomy. Copectomy? I don't mean copectomy, do I? I mean, they don't have Copec de board in this race to try and beat. They can sit and wait, and they can be the ones waiting as long as possible and then kicking for home at the right time, and I think he's going to take all of the beating tomorrow. That is Romeo Coolio. If you're not already on, I don't think the price is that bad at 11-8. I think he's the one to beat, I really do. Moving on to the 330, and I am going to leave this race alone. The Melling Chase featuring El Fabiolo versus John Bon. I've come round to supporting John Bon. Unfortunately, it all went wrong at Cheltenham when he made a mistake. But I'm a massive fan of El Fabiolo's as well. And with that in mind, I want to leave this race completely alone. We quickly move on to the 405, the race over the national fences, and again we've already actually put up our two here. James de Burley, second in this race last year, off a £1 higher mark this year, surely going to run a really nice race for Willie Mullins and JJ Slevin. Yes, he can be tricky to win with, because he hasn't actually won for... When was the last time he won a race? Wow, back at Fairyhouse in a beginner's chase, he won it, sent off 1-4. He won by 15 lengths. He hasn't won since then, and that's quite a lot of runs. I feel that this might have been the long-term plan. Off a mark of 152. They're coming back to try and win it this year. He's likely to run a big race again. And the second horse that we've put up is Ginny's Destiny. A little bit bigger than that. It was 20s when we talked about it a couple of days ago. Tongue tie, cheek pieces, go to the front. If he gets an easy lead, which you can do in these types of races, because of the national fences, it just slows them down and they don't take each other on. And if he can get down that inside, get that easy lead, we know he's very well handicapped, and he's handicapped to go very close here. This time last year he was finishing second in the Manifesto Grade 1, having previously finished second in the Turners. That's really strong form. A reproduction of that. And he wins this race off his current handicap mark of 148. It's all about getting down that inside and getting to the front and being allowed to dictate, similar to what they did with Caldwell Potter at the Cheltenham Festival. That's what they need to try and do with Ginny's Destiny. We'll move on to the 440. I'm getting through these quite quickly today. Obviously, I want to go and watch the rest of the racing. I do have one here as well. not particularly original, Caliphate en Vol. If you use our ratings, you will see that he ran a really nice performance last time out. And to be fair, this horse has some really good form to his name. Over hurdles, he was winning over 2 mile 5, beating As Legends Have It by 15 lengths. Last time out, he won, beating No Questions Asked, and he won it quite cosily. That was in a listed novice hurdle. And in between that, he finished second to the New Lion at Newbury. That performance would be good enough to win this race. They step him up in trip, Caliphate en Vol, having started over 2 mile 5 and previously been a point-to-point runner. He was always going to step up in trip, and I think there's going to be more to come from him now that he's stepped up in trip. And yeah, his only defeat over hurdles actually came to the Ballymore winner, the New Lion, who I believe is really top class. So yeah, I have no issues with him, Caliphate en Vol. I think our R figures do have it right as well. Let's just have a look at the price. It's not the biggest of prices. 7 to 2, 4 to 1. You can get 7 to 2. Yeah, I think he's the one to beat here, to be honest. And finally, we move on to the last race of the day, where we do have 2 selections in this. The 5:15. The first horse I want to talk about. I looked at this race and there was 3 that I was keeping an eye out for. Only one of them has actually been declared, which was a bit of a surprise. But the one that has been declared is the biggest priced of the 3. That's Country Park. I really like this horse. I think he's got some nice form, and I think both the drop back in trip will suit, and some of his form was really good. Second to Ace of Spades, for example, in a maiden hurdle at Cheltenham. I thought that was a really good run. Recently, stepped up in trip, and to be fair, when he dropped slightly in trip from 2 mile 5 to 2 mile 3, he finished 4th in a handicap hurdle behind Outer Belly, Joya Machan and Classic King. Now, Outer Belly has done well this season. Joya Machan nearly won that feature handicap at Uttoxeter, got caught on the line, and Classic King also ran a really good race next time out, finishing second to Aston Martini, who we were all over, suggesting that he was very well handicapped. Country Park ran well for a long way with them and just got tired right near the finish. This drop back in trip could really suit Country Park, and he could be one that's very lightly weighted here. He carries 10 stone 2, and Benjamin Macy takes £7 off. I think he's way overpriced at 22s. I would have him down here sort of thing, 12s, 14s. I think he's very nicely handicapped, and I think he's going to run a big race. The second horse that we're also going to have in this race, a little bit more obvious, it's Affodil. So Go Dante was one that we were looking out for in this race, on the basis that he was very unlucky in this race last year. Doesn't run. The horse we were on last year was Affodil, and I think he's going to take all of the beating this year. £6 lower mark. Freddie Ginjal keeps the ride. Finally bounced back to a bit of form the last couple of runs. Musselburgh in the Scottish County Hurdle, and then recently in the Imperial Cup, where he got beat by Go Dante and Reckless Eric. Now, he was trying to win the race, probably hit the front a little bit too soon. If he had been weighted with a little bit longer, I think he would have taken all of the beating in the Imperial Cup, and he may well have been able to hold on from Go Dante. Yes, he went up £2 for that Affodil. They put the tongue tie on as well. Plenty of positives about Affodil. He's going to run a really nice race here. You can currently get 7s about him. 13 to 2 is readily available. I think that's a good price. He only went off 9 to 1 last year. He's off a lower mark. He's coming into the race in good form. Yeah, I think he's going to go close, isn't he? So they are my 2 in that last race. Affodil at 13 to 2 and Country Park at 22 to 1. Hopefully we can continue with a few more winners over the next couple of days before we move on to Grand National Day, which will be available for Premium and Pro members Friday afternoon and for free members on Saturday morning.